Rising from the ashes, reclaiming joy after trauma. When I had the privilege of interviewing Queen Yittah YHWH, I was utterly transformed by our conversation. Here was a woman who had stared into the abyss of human suffering and emerged not just intact, but radiant. In a world obsessed with shallow resilience narratives, Queen Yittah's journey illuminates a profound truth. Healing isn't just possible, but inevitable when we combine faith, community, and the courage to reclaim our stories. Her impact reverberates far beyond her immediate circle, creating concentric waves of hope that touch countless lives. She doesn't just talk about transformation, she embodies it with every breath, every word, every action. Have you ever noticed how we love to consume trauma stories? We devour them like emotional fast food, quick, satisfying in the moment, but ultimately leaving us empty. We celebrate the triumphant ending while conveniently fast forwarding through the messy middle where the real work happens. I've spent years fascinated by a question that haunts me. Why can some people face unimaginable trauma and find their way back to joy? Not just functioning, actually thriving. Let me be clear about something. When I say joy after trauma, I'm not talking about that Instagram filtered resilience that's become so marketable. I'm talking about the hard won, battle scarred joy that comes after you've been broken open and had to reassemble yourself with trembling hands. The kind of joy that arrives unexpectedly on ordinary Tuesdays, catching you off guard with its presence after you were convinced it had abandoned you forever. The truth is, when betrayal comes from those meant to protect you, when systems designed for justice fail you spectacularly, when your body becomes a battlefield, when your home disappears overnight, there's no handbook, no 5 step process, no quick fix. And yet, people rise. Consider Centoya Brown. At just 16 years old, 16, she found herself sentenced to life in prison after killing a man who had purchased her for sex, a man she feared would kill her. Born into chaos, trafficked, exploited, and then criminalized for defending her own life. The system that should have protected her instead punished her with breathtaking cruelty. The narrative written about her in courtrooms and headlines painted her as a criminal, not as a child survivor of sex trafficking. But Centoya refused, absolutely refused to let that narrative define her. Behind bars, she earned not one, but 2 college degrees. Let that sink in. While in prison for defending her life, she built a future with nothing but determination and vision. She cultivated alliances with advocates both inside and outside prison walls. She shared her story publicly, transforming her pain into awareness for other survivors. After 15 years, her sentence was commuted and she emerged not broken, but purposeful, an advocate for criminal justice reform and for other young women trapped in cycles of exploitation and violence. What Centoya's story teaches us, what Queen Yittah YHWH experiences affirm, is that reclaiming joy after trauma isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about refusing to let what happened determine what happens next. It's about writing a new story when the old one has been shattered beyond recognition. But here's what we often miss in these narratives of resilience: nobody does it alone. Nobody. When I spoke with Queen Yittah YHWH about the power of community and healing, she emphasized something crucial: that seeking support isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's recognizing that humans were never meant to carry unbearable burdens in isolation. This truth resonates deeply in the story of Terry Crews, a man whose physical strength and public persona seemed to embody invulnerability. When he came forward about being sexually assaulted by a Hollywood executive, He faced ridicule, disbelief, and defamation campaigns questioning his masculinity and integrity. Men can't be victims, they said, especially not Black men, especially not physically imposing Black men. The absurdity of this reaction would be comical if it weren't so devastating, as if trauma checks your gender and race at the door before deciding whether to affect you. But Terry understood something powerful. True strength isn't about suffering in silence, it's about speaking truth, even when that truth makes others uncomfortable. It's about seeking therapy, leaning on family, building support networks. It's about using your platform to challenge toxic narratives around gender, race, and vulnerability. His testimony before Congress on behalf of the sexual assault Survivor's Bill of Rights wasn't just about his personal healing, it was about creating space for other survivors, particularly men of color, to reclaim their own stories without shame. This is what Queen Yittah YHWH's insights reveal. Healing is both deeply personal and inherently communal. We heal in relationship to ourselves, to others, to something greater than ourselves. And sometimes that healing journey requires us to rebuild from absolute zero. The data on homelessness among women veterans tells a story that statistics alone can't capture. Black women veterans are disproportionately represented in these numbers, many with histories involving family estrangement, divorce, domestic violence, women who served their country only to find themselves without shelter, without support, without the most basic security. For many of these women, military service initially provided stability and purpose, but abrupt life changes, divorce, family rejection, trauma, triggered cycles leading toward homelessness. What's remarkable isn't just that many found their way back to stable housing and employment, but that many now serve as mentors and advisors, helping newer homeless women veterans navigate similar challenges. They leverage VA housing and job training services. They built peer support groups specifically tailored for women veterans of color. They partnered with local churches and nonprofits, providing wraparound care, including counseling, spiritual mentorship, and supportive housing transitions. Their resilience wasn't just about personal grit, it was about systems of support, about faith communities that showed up, about the power of shared experience to light the way forward. This is what Queen Yittah YHWH understands so profoundly. That faith isn't just about believing in better days, it's about creating them. One relationship, one community, one act of courage at a time. But what happens when the trauma you're healing from includes public defamation? When lies about who you are become part of the public record? When your character is assassinated in ways that threaten everything you've built? This is perhaps one of the most insidious forms of trauma, the kind that attacks not just what happened to you, but who you fundamentally are. Queen Yittah YHWH's insights on reclaiming your narrative after defamation cut straight to the heart of this challenge. When others attempt to define you through lies, living authentically becomes not just healing but revolutionary. Each of these stories, Centoya's, Terry's, the countless women veterans rebuilding their lives, demonstrates a profound truth. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can refuse to let it define us. We can write a different ending. But here's where I want to challenge the typical resilience narrative, because too often we celebrate the end result without honoring the messy, painful, nonlinear process of getting there. Healing from profound trauma isn't about bouncing back or getting over it. It's about integration, about making meaning, about allowing yourself to be forever changed while refusing to be forever defined by what hurts you. Some days, healing looks like professional accomplishment, earning degrees behind bars like Centoya, testifying before Congress like Terry, mentoring others like the women veterans who've found stability after homelessness. Other days, healing looks like simply surviving, like breathing through panic attacks, like choosing to trust again after betrayal, like getting out of bed when depression makes your limbs feel like they're made of lead. All of it matters. All of it counts. What Queen Yittah YHWH's journey illuminates is that joy after trauma isn't about returning to who you were before. It's about becoming someone new, someone who carries the wounds but isn't defined by them, someone whose capacity for compassion has been deepened by suffering, someone whose understanding of strength has been transformed by vulnerability. This is the paradox at the heart of healing, that our deepest wounds can become our greatest sources of wisdom, connection, and purpose, not despite the pain, but because of how we choose to carry it. I'm not suggesting that trauma is a gift. It's not. Violence is not a blessing. Betrayal is not a favor. Systems that fail the vulnerable are not doing them a service, but human beings have this remarkable capacity to make meaning even from senseless suffering, to forge purpose from pain, to transform trauma not into a neat inspirational story with a tidy moral, but into a complex ongoing journey of becoming. This is what Queen Yittah YHWH embodies, not just survival, but transformation, not just resilience, but revolution, a refusal to be defined by what was done to her, and a commitment to defining herself through what she chooses to do with her life now. So I stand before you today with a challenge that might feel impossible if you're in the depths of trauma right now, but one that I promise is worth accepting. I challenge you to believe, truly believe, that joy is still possible for you. Not a diminished joy, not a consolation prize joy, but fierce, full body joy that coexists with your scars. I challenge you to reach out today, this week, either for help or to offer help. Send that text, make that call, walk into that support group. Because as Queen Yittah YHWH's journey shows us, nobody heals alone. I challenge you to start reclaiming your narrative, even if just in whispers at first, to say, "This happened to me, but it is not who I am." And most of all, I challenge you to honor your own healing process, however messy, however nonlinear, however different it looks from anyone else's. Because the path from trauma to joy isn't a straight line. It's a winding road with detours, setbacks, unexpected vistas, and moments of breathtaking beauty amid the pain. The ashes of trauma can become the soil from which new life grows. Not overnight, not without tending, not without tears to water the ground, but with patience, with community, with faith, with the courage to begin again and again until one day you realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving, and your joy, your hard won, battle scarred joy, becomes a beacon for others still finding their way through the darkness. This is how we heal ourselves. This is how we heal each other. This is how, one story at a time, we heal the world.